Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. So, we finished last week with passage 29, and we actually went through how the Buddha experienced an aesthetic life, and he didn't find it very helpful. He didn't find it liberating, so he further pursued, and he chose a spot and started his meditation. So at the end of those passages, the Buddha established that asceticism not leading to enlightenment. He said whatever ascetics or Brahmins in the past have experienced painful and racking, piercing feelings due to exertion, this is the utmost, there is none beyond this. So there is none beyond that extreme aesthetic life. They cannot go any further. That's why that's why he said, this is the utmost, there is none beyond this. I mean, how much can you go more, right? How much more can you go? A grain a day and just a little bit of water a day. There's only this much that you can go. And he said, whenever ascetics and Brahmins in the future, past, future, he said, even in the future, if they go through this kind of experience, still the same. They can't go much further, right? And then he said, whatever ascetics and Brahmins at present experience this, still it's the same. So it applies to those who actually pursue on this extreme practice in the past, in the future, in the present. So it covers throughout all times. Okay, so he said, well, this is the utmost, there's nothing beyond this. So maybe there is another way. Because of this racking experience, the practice of these austerities, he actually did not attain this superhuman distinction. What does it mean by superhuman distinction? It's anything that is known to human. Has to surpass that in order to be liberated, right? So that's why it's called superhuman. It's not Superman. It's superhuman, all right? Superhuman distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of the noble ones. That's why this path is called the noble path, right? The area. So whoever walking on a noble path become noble people. You definitely become noble people, right? If you dye yourself in a tank of red ink, you become a red person. So in order to be liberated from human sufferings, one has to actually transcend that human limitations. Okay? So he said, could there be another path? Could there be another path to enlightenment? So he was wondering, is there another path to enlightenment? So on page passage 31, I think I told you the story last time, is he considered, I recall that when my father was occupied, he was sitting in the cool shade of a rose apple pear, apple tree, which is actually very common fruit trees in the Southeast Asia. And secluded from sensual pleasures. That means he's free from all the sensual pleasures or craving for sensual pleasures, and secluded from unwholesome states. He's completely purified. I entered and dwelt in the first jhana. That means a very calm and focused mind. but still there are thoughts. There is examination, but the thoughts are not disturbing the mind. Okay, so he said, which is accompanied by thought and examination. The first jhana, that is the first state of meditative concentration, very strong meditative concentration, and with rapture and happiness because of seclusion. Because of seclusion. So then he considered, could this be the path to enlightenment? This is, and actually he thought, could this be the path? And he thought, wow, yes, this is really the path to enlightenment. Because when he remembered that experience in the cool shade of the rose apple tree, and then he went into this first jhana, and then because of this rapture and happiness, even though he asked this question, he knew, following for that memory when he was little. Actually, when he was sitting beneath the rose apple tree, he already actually attained very deep jhana, very high jhana. So he, following that on that memory, he realizes, oh, this is indeed the path to enlightenment. So that's the way. It's not other higher jhana states like what he did before with the other teachers. Okay? So, and then he thought, oh, why am I afraid of that happiness that has nothing to do with sensual pleasure and unwholesome states? I thought, I'm not afraid of that happiness that has nothing to do. So he was checking himself. So passage 33, actually, he said, he considered, in order to actually pursue on such a path, especially he was looking for liberation, he was looking for the truth. So he said, physical health is very necessary. So we have to constantly remind ourselves, if we want to pursue on the path of practice, we need to maintain a very healthy mind and also a very healthy body. Okay? So he said, it is not easy to attain that happiness with a body so excessively emaciated, so thin, right? Remember that picture I showed you last week? So not thin as skinny, bony. Not just skinny, it's bony. So bony, and how can somebody has that energy to actually pursue on such a strenuous path, such a serious and difficult path? It's impossible. So he said, well, I can't, and maybe I should eat some food. So he said, I suppose I should eat some solid food. So then he was offered, in here, it didn't say that he was offered a bowl of porridge, but he just ate a bowl of porridge, rice and porridge. But in the tradition, they always say that he was offered a bowl of porridge by a woman, right? It really doesn't matter. But what matters is the message that carry through is the right kind of food, which is actually necessary for a healthy body. The right amount, the right kind of food brings the health, and the health is necessary for us to pursue on such a path. But the 5 monks were disgusted because they thought, this ascetic Gautama now lives a luxurious life. How can you say a porridge and a bowl of rice is a luxurious life, right? I was at Fort Mountain last night, and we started off 4 weeks ago with 12 guys, and then the second week we ended up with 6 guys, and last night how many guys do I have? 3. Good guess. How come? Why, Terry?
Simple math.
So smart, Terry. And I said, hey, where are those guys? They said, well, we had turkey today. We had turkey, then they had pie, and they had fresh cream, and they had soup, and what else did they have? Can't remember. And oh yeah, egg and a Spanish egg for breakfast. And what else for lunch? I can't remember. But anyway, they said the food was so good today. Those are real food today. Oh, ham sandwich. Yeah, 2 ham sandwiches. No, ordinarily they get only 1. Yesterday they got 2 ham sandwich, which was real ham, they said, not that flimsy ham. So I said, oh, that's the reason why half only show up. They said, yeah, probably, don't know. But anyway, so the 5 monks were disgusted and left. Oh, wait until those 5 monks see those turkey, eh? Where are they going then? But anyway, the 5 monks, you know who are the 5 monks? Who were the 5 monks? Yeah. Yeah, the attendants who actually left home with him. Yeah, and one of them was Channa, remember? Channa. Okay, so they left. They said he has given up his driving and reverted to luxury. So there's nothing he can do, right? So he ate some food and regained the strength, and then he actually started meditating. Then secluded from sensual pleasures, unwholesome states, he actually attained the first jhana. But remember what Satya asked him. Didn't you ever experience pleasant feeling? And did they ever stay and remain and invade you and remain? And here gives the answer, further answer to the question raised by Satya. He said, this pleasant feeling that arose did not invade the mind and remain. So we have to keep constantly reminding us about this. Don't let anything invade your mind and remain.
When he was in the state where he wasn't eating much at all, and then he decided, because it wasn't working for him, that, no, I can't do this, I gotta eat food and take the middle path.
Yeah.
When he was in the other state, when he was really skinny, was there anything besides teaching to others that you think that it was learned in that state?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Of course. Any of our past experience is a lesson. Even though not with us, without those past experience, we won't be the way we are right now, right?
Yeah.
So any past experience always will bring a lesson. Okay, I'm sure he has learned a lesson, because at least he built up that resilience and that strength and that determination, right? So that's what he has learned, right? That's I guess, but in the commentary it didn't say anything, but I could see that, yeah.
It was like basically it's not a step into Buddhism when he got really skinny and decided not to eat too much, right?
Yeah.
And then he was saying that the middle path is a step not when he got really skinny and decided to not eat too much.
Well, he thought at that time, he thought that was the path, right?
Oh, okay.
Like us, we think, oh wow, this is the path, and then we tried it, we experienced, this is not the path. This doesn't liberate my defilements. This doesn't liberate eradicate my sufferings. So he chose another path, right? He spent 6 years in aesthetic life, right? So he has experience, definitely. Otherwise, he won't have questions. He won't inquire further, right? Okay? So then he further practiced, and then he went into the second jhana. Okay, the second jhana is on page passage 35. So with the subsiding of thought and examination, so there is no more examination, there is no more thought. He went into this second jhana, the second state of meditation, of deep concentration, which has internal confidence and unification of mind. What does it mean? What does it mean by unification of mind? That means the mind is not scattered. The mind is with the object. Okay? The mind is with the object of meditation. And this has internal confidence. That means he's gradually come back to this mind, to this body, and this mind is actually unified with the body. And he actually has extreme confidence in himself that he can actually go on further. That is internal confidence. And then without thought and examination, he has rapture and happiness born of concentration. So without thought and examination, the mind is unified. And when the mind is unified with the object of meditation, of the mind and the body, or the mind and the breath, becomes one. Just like when in the meditation instructions, I said, the mind in the body on the chair, on the mat, three of them actually unifies together if you are really concentrated. And there is no chair, there is no body, there is no mind, and just three becomes one. So that is really deep concentration. And then such pleasant feeling that arose did not invade my mind. What kind of pleasant feeling? Rapture, happiness, lightness, brightness. I'm sure some of you have experienced that in your meditation. Okay, so such pleasant feeling. Those pleasant feelings are really very pleasant, you know. It could be so tempting to actually run for it and keep craving for them, right? It's so pleasant. But remember this, always remember this. Even the Buddha said, this pleasant feeling that arose did not invade my mind and remain. And similarly us, such unpleasant feeling. If we did not get into jhana, all those unpleasant feelings that you may experience in meditation, remember this phrase. Such unpleasant feelings did not invade my mind and remain. So do not allow yourself to be trapped by the unpleasantness or the pleasantness. Okay. Then he goes into third jhana. So with the fading away as well as rapture, I dwell equanimously. So that means the mind is very balanced. The mind is very balanced, very focused, very concentrated, and he experienced happiness with this body. That happiness with the body means it seems that there is no body. Okay? And so he actually attained that third jhana. And he repeatedly bring this up. This pleasant feeling does not invade the mind and remain. That means the mind remains as focused as before and never scattered. So he goes on to fourth jhana. This whole passage, this few passages actually talk about the meditative state that he went through, one after another, one after another. And you think, oh wow, maybe you are talking about, so slowly. Maybe he was going really step by step. I don't think so. I think he actually just went into one state after another. It's not like us spending the whole lifetime not even getting into first jhana, right? Okay, so the fourth jhana, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, passing away of joy and displeasure. So actually here he started to see the true impermanence of things, right? Passing away of joy and displeasure. abandoning all the pleasure and pain. So pleasant, unpleasant. Here, there is no pleasant, there is no unpleasant. And this is neither painful nor pleasant, and includes the purification of mindfulness by equanimity. So further, the mind further become more and more equanimous and more concentrated. So in the third jhana, the equanimity is not completed yet. It started to be equanimous. But at the fourth jhana, the equanimity is completed. Okay. So such pleasant feeling that arose does not invade the mind and remain. So he went into fourth jhana. This is the state. Okay. This is the state where things started to happen. So what started to happen? This is where he started to attain the three knowledges. So this chapter is called the Attainment of Three Knowledges, right? The realization of the three true knowledges. So on page 65, 38, passage 38, the mind was very, very concentrated, purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldly, steady, and attained to imperturbability. This is a very difficult word to pronounce. But anyway, he directed it to the knowledge of recollection of past life. This is the first knowledge, or this is the first, actually, superpower, supernatural power. Supernatural power? Yeah. So this is her first knowledge. Recollection of past lives, or many, many past lives. 1 birth, 2 births, 3 births, 4 births, 5 births, 10 births, and all the way 1,000 births, 100,000 births, and many eons of world contraction and many eons of world expansion. So you know what is 1 eon or 1 kalpa, right? You remember that? Yeah? You do? No? Super long. That's a very smart. There is a very, very smart.
And it has something to do with tiny mustard seeds.
Yeah. How big is the container?
Very,
Very, very big. So smart. How many miles? How many miles high? How many miles deep? How many miles wide? Nobody remember?
Well,
See it.
7?
You guess, right?
Yeah, I did.
That was the right guess.
Oh, good.
7 miles. That's almost 10 clicks, right? 10 kilometers wide and tall and tall and wide and what? Deep. Well, W times H times D, right? Whatever. But anyway, so every how many years you put a sesame? You bring 1 sesame up. Yes, 100 years. You take 1 sesame and put it into the empty box. And then every 100 years, you take it until all these sesame or mustard seeds are empty. That's 1 eon, 1 small kalpa. Oh. Okay, so can you imagine, right? Can you imagine that ability that he has gained, that knowledge that he has gained so vast and so deep? Okay. And he attained it at the first watch of night. Remember what time is first watch of the night? How many watches? How many watches throughout the 24 hours? Huh?
Oh, through 24. 6?
Yeah, 6 watches. So what is the first watch of the night? What time?
6 to 10.
Are you guessing? You are definitely guessing. First watch of night.
8 to 2.
Huh?
8 until 2.
8 until 2 o'clock in the morning? No. When does the sun go down? 6 to 10. You guess right. 6 to 10, that is the first watch of night. So you divide 24 hours by 6. So every watch is 4 hours. It starts from 6 o'clock in the morning. 6 to 10 is first watch of the day. Okay? 10 to 2, 2 to 6. And then first watch of night is 6 to 10. 10 to 2 o'clock in the morning is second watch of the night, middle watch, or you can call it. And then from 2 to 6 is the last watch of night. Remember, these are the basics that you really need to memorize. At this age, right? Well, when I talk about it enough, I think you will remember. Or you will guess correctly. But anyway, the first watch of night, this actually he attained. So what is this? What is this? This is the supernatural power to the what? Yeah? Yeah, to which sense organs? To see. There are supernatural power pertaining to the eyes. Visions. So his vision can see through eons of lives. Eons of lives. Okay. And he said it doesn't matter whether beings are inferior or superior, or beautiful or ugly, fortunate or unfortunate. They go round and round, passing, reborn, passing, reborn, passing, reborn. It doesn't matter who they are, what they are, and how they are. Okay? So they fare according to their actions. That is, they fare according to the karma. Right? Okay? So that's the first knowledge. And then he said when the first knowledge was attained, darkness was banished and light arose. And such pleasant feelings does not invade the mind and remain. Can you imagine, bless you, can you imagine ourselves? What happened to ourselves if we start to have this supernatural power? Do you think that pleasant feelings will invade us and remain? Huh? Oh yeah, right. Definitely. It definitely will remain. I want it to remain, right? We do want it to remain. But not the Buddha. That's why he's the Buddha and we are not the Buddha yet. But don't worry, you'll become a Buddha. Sooner or later, it's just a matter of time. Okay, just be patient. All right. So the second knowledge, then we go on to passage 41, second knowledge. And the second knowledge was attained in the middle watch of the night. That means what time? Good, 10 to 2. Okay. So, as the mind is concentrated, purified, right and unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, worldly, steady, and attained to imperturbability. Oh, gosh. Really? How to say this word? So I did it right. So much hiccup here. He directed to the knowledge of the passing away and rebirth of beings. So he actually concentrated on understanding this and experiencing this passing away and rebirth of beings. And then he attained a divine eye, purified and surpassed that human. This is the second knowledge. Did I get it wrong? No, sorry, I said it wrong. The first knowledge was knowing lives, like knowing your past life. The second knowledge is the super eyes. The first knowledge is super mind, knowing the past lives of beings and knowing their own past lives. Okay? This is the second knowledge, the super eye, the divine eye, purifies and surpasses the human, and saw beings passing away and being reborn. And I understood how beings fare on according to their actions. Yep, this is actually passage 40. So, unwholesome behavior based on wrong views, reborn in a bad destination in the lower world, in hell. So he saw beings who actually have behaved unwholesomely or have done a lot of unwholesome deeds. He saw them being reborn in a very low existence. So you know how many low existence? How many realms of lower existence? 3. Which 3? Hell, ghost, and animal. Good. All right. So then those who behave well by body, speech, and mind after death have been reborn in wholesome destination, in good destination, in a heavenly world. So how many heavens? Nobody knows. 3. Double it, triple it. 3, you guess right. It's 2 3s. 33, not 6. Yeah, 3 plus 3 without the plus. So 33 heavens. This kind of heaven is very different from the heaven that Christianity or Catholicism believed in. Okay, it's very different. Okay, I don't know how different they are, but they are different. Okay, and yes, the one difference is it's not eternal.
What were you saying about it's not eternal?
It's not eternal.
The one
The one heaven is eternal, right?
Okay.
In Christianity and Catholicism, they said the one heaven is eternal, right? Once you're born into the heaven, it's eternal heaven, right?
Okay, yeah.
But no, not according to the Buddhist teachings. Because why? Heaven. It's only heaven. It's like deities and devas. After they exhausted their wholesome karma, then they need to parachuting back into whether it's the human world or the lower realms, right? Remember, so that is not eternal. Okay, that's a big difference.
Is that the only one that you can recall from the two differences, or is there like a little bit more or less?
What, you mean the heavens?
Yeah, we have the Christianity or
The Christianity, I mean, that's a huge difference already.
Okay.
Eternity and not eternity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
It doesn't say how many years you would be up there until you come back, either on a Buddhist heaven, right?
Oh, some do say that.
Oh, okay.
Some do say that, yeah. And eons in years in human realm, it's just a day in heavenly existence.
Cool.
My great grandteacher, Actually, he was in deep meditation for how many days? 7 days. He was persecuted at that time, beaten up. So he actually went into deep meditation. So people stopped beating him up on day 5. They came to beat him up every day. Anyway, on day 7, he came back out from meditation, and he scared people away on day 5 because every day they came in, they beat him up. They actually killed 2 of his really close attendants, trying to get him out of meditation, out, to give out all those so-called gold and money that they accused him of hiding. He went into deep meditation on day 5. They were scared of seeing this old man, 107 or 102 years old. No, 101 years old. No, 107. 107-year-old. He lived until 120. 107-year-old, and then his eyes were like all red and blood, and they broke his ribs, a few of his ribs, and he was still sitting there, very calm, not moving. And they thought he has died, or they were scared that he had died. So they didn't beat him up on days 5 and 6 and 7. On day 7, he came back out from meditation. He told his attendants he went up to sutta heaven. The closest heaven to human being, to human realm, is to sutta. And he said it was just very brief moment that he was there. And then it was 7 days in human's life. Okay, so I haven't been to heaven yet, so I have no experience to tell you. Okay, so he said ignorance was banished. Actually, these are the same for 3 knowledges. Ignorance was banished, and true knowledge arose. Darkness was banished, and light arose. And such pleasant feelings does not invade the mind and remain. So, with the 3rd knowledge, directed towards the knowledge of destruction of taints, that means afflictions and defilements. So after the 2nd knowledge, he got the divine eye, and seeing people, faring according to their actions and being reborn in heavenly realm or in hell's realm or lower realm. And then on the third last watch of the night, he actually directed all the knowledge, all the experience to the destructions of taints. And he knew, because without the eradications of afflictions and defilements, nobody can actually attain total liberation. So he started realizing, oh, this is suffering. This is the cause of suffering. And this is the cessation or stopping of suffering. And this is the way leading to the stopping of suffering. So these 4 is the famous 4 Noble Truths. And this is one of the very important core teachings of the Buddha. And this is the first enlightened experience that he had. He found out why human beings suffer so much and what is the cause of suffering. So he went further. He said, I directly knew as it actually is. Remember, I directly knew as it actually is. What does this phrase actually say? Yeah, truly witnessing. That means he experiences himself, right? And he said, these are the things. He actually started seeing these are the defilements. These are all the afflictions. where do all these defilements, afflictions came? Attachments to?
Sensual pleasures.
Yes.
Spiritual pleasures.
Yeah. And he said this is the origin of the taints. So he started seeing why there is defilements, why there is afflictions. So, and when I knew and saw thus, my mind was liberated from the taint of sensual desire. And the taint of sensual desire, as Sandra said, that's the afflictions caused by indulging in sensual desire. And from the taint of existence, what does it mean by the taint of existence? Is the defilements arise because we have that urge and we have a misunderstanding. We have a really strong wanting to forever existing. So that's why when a lot of time people ask questions is, what happened to me when I die? Because people are scared that they don't exist anymore. And they want to exist. So that is from the taint of existence that he actually liberated from there. And
Can I ask a question? And this keeps coming up for me all over the place. If consciousness itself is an aggregate and comes and goes with rebirth, what is it when we say, many lives? What is it that is reborn if not consciousness?
it is consciousness.
Oh, it is consciousness. Okay.
It is consciousness that brings rebirth.
Oh, okay.
It's not consciousness itself being reborn. It's consciousness brings rebirth.
Brings rebirth.
Yeah.
And so when you're liberated and you lose consciousness.
No, you totally eradicated that stock. That stock is empty.
So what survives to go to?
Nothing. Nothingness.
Oh, okay.
That is the scary part.
Yeah.
Nothingness, right? That's the scary part. So many people are so scared about nothingness. And because we are so used to somethingness, right? We're so used to this somethingness. So we can comprehend what kind of world it is to be nothingness. Nothinglessness. Right? So sometimes during meditation, people experience that they did not feel any arms, they did not feel their legs, or they did not feel the body. They started to be so scared. Actually, that's the first experience of nothingnessness. But because we never experienced that, and we are so, we have such a wrong perception that this is so real, this is real, and it is so real that when I meditate and all of a sudden you feel that there is no body, that the body doesn't exist, or the body is like amalgamate with the whole universe, then it just you just shock yourself. What's going on? Am I dying? No, dying is not like that. Dying is very solid. There's a lot of solidity in dying, in the dying process.
It's the consciousness part that body I can get my mind around.
Yeah.
It's the consciousness. Maybe it's like then it becomes the drop of water in the ocean.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. Yes. Okay. So and then from the taint of ignorance. So this is actually there are three things in here. Okay. Taint of sensual desire. Let me finish this. Okay. I want to finish this. This not too far, not too many. And taint of sensual desire, taint of existence, and taint of ignorance. So taint of ignorance because of wrong views, not understanding the Four Noble Truth, not understanding the arising and passing, and not understanding the dependent origination. So those are all wrong views. And why do we have such wrong views? Because we are ignorant. And because we are ignorant, we have such wrong views. It's a vicious cycle between these two things. Okay, so when he actually attained that third knowledge, after that third knowledge, he actually saw this. And he said, wow, I knew this. My mind was totally liberated. And there came the knowledge, and that is a liberated knowledge. That is the third knowledge, a liberated knowledge. And here, this he says, birth is destroyed. He will not be reborn anymore. Okay? And spiritual life has been lived. That means he actually attained total liberation. And which had to be done has been done. There is no more coming back to any state of being. That means nothingnessness.
Is nothing something?
You could say when you are actually seeing, if you are using your conscious mind to see nothingness, then there is something. But nothingness is not a perception of the consciousness. Okay?
I'm still there.
But if you are seeing something being nothing, then you are actually using your perception, still using your perception. Your perception still see, oh, there's nothing in here.
So real nothingness would have no awareness. There's no awareness in
No, that awareness is, no, there is awareness
nothing.
and extreme equanimity. And nothing can move that awareness, that equanimity.
But if you're having that perception, sorry if I'm getting very metaphysical, if you're having that perception, then your awareness still exists.
That perception is called sanya. Awareness and perception is different.
Okay.
Awareness and perception is totally different things.
Well,
Okay.
maybe one day when you have 3 hours.
Well, we need to study the Abhidhamma to really, to actually study this part of the mind really in detail. Okay, so he said ignorance was banished, true knowledge arose, and darkness was banished, light arose. Happiness happens in one who dwells diligent, ardent, and resolute. And this pleasant feeling does not invade my mind and remain. So he actually attained these 3 knowledges within one night. First watch, second watch, and last watch of night. And the most important and the really which brings on enlightenment is the last one. It's the last one, the liberating one. And so I want to, these few passages is actually very, could be difficult to comprehend, but don't spend too much time on this, because why? We are not there yet. So we cannot, we haven't experienced what the Buddha has experienced. We are just using our mind to comprehend his experience, and you can never do that. It can never be done. Like as I always say, like a kindergarten kid wanted to comprehend a PhD student knowledges. He can never do that. So that's like us. A kindergarten person, a kindergarten kid wanted to comprehend the Buddha's attainment. That's impossible. So whatever that is, theoretically, people have way many theories to so many knowledges, so many words to explain all these situations, all these states, and all these things. Those are just mere words. Don't be bogged down by those mere words, please. Because the Buddha said, what did he say? He said, I directly knew. And that means he experienced. And that's the most important, okay? And birth is destroyed. Spiritual life has been lived. We keep asking ourselves, has my birth been destroyed? Have I lived my spiritual life? That's the most important questions. Spend energy on these rather than trying to comprehend what is his state of mind. Yeah? Okay? So reflections. What are the reasons for the Buddha to attain enlightenment despite all the challenges? Think about it, okay? And among the three knowledges, the third knowledge of the destruction of the taints is the crucial point to total liberation. So what are the qualities of this third knowledge? These are the questions for you to answer next week. Do we have any of these qualities? No? Really? Are we prepared to develop any of these qualities? Ask yourself. Reflect upon it. We discuss it next week. All right? Okay. All right. No questions? No questions.
I have one really quick question.
Yes.
Is there a way to read up on the lineage of your master and our
Yeah. Your great-grandfather.
Yes.
Your not grandfather, grand-teacher. Eva, can you send out the link to everybody?
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Or you can send it out to,
The autobiography.
yeah. Master Xu Yun. And he has written a lot of poems. Beautiful poems. Okay. May these blessings extend to all, that we, with all the other living beings, together will attain the Buddha way. May we wish more and more people will encounter the words of the Buddha, study them, practice them, and help themselves to be liberated from all the entanglements, all the miseries, all the sufferings, and be ultimately free, happy, and peaceful. Good night. Good night.